Well, the time has come. Championship Saturday, just a couple of hours away from the inaugural 12-team playoff getting announced. We are in overtime right now in the SEC Championship between Texas and Georgia. Matt Sims, Skubie Mageza, Spencer Hall is also joining us
here.
What up, y'all? Let's see what happens here. Handing it off. Georgia in for the score. That is it. Georgia, your SEC champions here in 2024. How about that? What a way to start the show.
Go. It's showtime. Hey, welcome to the show, y'all. It's a college football show. It's conference championship weekend. Georgia put on a hell of a game. We're going to have a whole bunch of things to talk about. And shout out to the YouTube chat. You see this laptop here?
Wow.
I'm going to be in there the whole time.
Welcome to our conference, Texas.
What an incredible start, Spencer, right? I mean, this is what we were watching this game, too. It was a field goal kicking contest pretty much all the way throughout. Things got really exciting at the end, though.
None of this should have happened. None of this should have happened, and yet here we are. Texas had no business not winning this game in the first half.
Yeah.
Georgia barely had any business winning it in the second, but yeah, that happened.
So Georgia playing in their fourth straight SEC championship. By the way, Atlanta has not been incredibly friendly to Georgia over the years, but here they finally get it done. Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs now likely getting that first round bye. Texas obviously still going to be in the playoff. We will get to all of that as we continue on in the college football show as well. But welcome to the college football show presented by AT&T. Again, this season has kind of been filled with the unpredictable, the unexpected. Why should we expect anything else here as Kirby Smart joins Holly Rowe here postgame? Kind of interested to hear what he has to say if we can crank this sound up a bit.
Coach Bobo did, and all the coaches did, and he believed. This kid's a winner, man. This kid's special. He's a winner.
Wow. Gunner, this is an unbelievable situation, but you've been preparing for this. How were you able to settle down and win this game?
I think it just goes back to just the love I have for everybody in the locker room, just all the seniors, and just wanting them to go out on the right way. And
you're a kid from Georgia. What does this mean for you? First SEC championship for you.
This is pretty awesome. It's just special to the guys that get to do it with.
Thank you so much.
He's a dog! Raven County, baby!
Let's go to Laura Rutledge and Trevor Etienne.
All right, thank you, Holly.
That was awesome. That was awesome. And I just, I want to say, too, knowing a few coaches in the world and all that stuff and just talking with people, right? A lot of people were saying when Gunner went in the game, they were going to win the game because the team loves that dude.
Right.
Like, they play for that dude. And him being a Georgia boy and all that, he lives and breathes and eats Georgia football. So I think you saw tonight, the energy of the stadium, the players themselves, when he went into that game.
The first drive out of the half, right?
You could feel it.
Yeah,
and it bled to the rest of the team. And I think that's just because they really were, they felt it. They knew that this guy was ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, that first drive when he got in the game, they had more yards in that drive alone than Georgia had the entire first half.
Yeah.
And for a moment there, I was like, hold on now. We got something. We got some electricity with the way that he was leading them down the field. It calmed down a little bit as the game started to go along. But, man, they stuck with it, and they really battled.
And what an interesting thing, too, right? What's the problem with Georgia? Well, they can't catch the football, right? Okay, he goes in the game. What happens?
They start catching
They start making miraculous catches, Spence,
Listen,
right?
If you want to find the best quarterback in Georgia, go to Tiger. It's a town, northeast, as far northeast as you can get.
Yeah.
Population 422.
Wow.
That's where Gunner Stockton's from. Throws a catchable ball, y'all. What else can you say?
Right.
Big city, huh?
And to think, y'all, I mean, it's kind of been an up and down season for Georgia. There was a point where I was like, all right, there's no way that they're going to win the SEC championship.
A little pushback. Little pushback. I mean, not quite so up and down. The fact is, I know, but they've only lost 2 games, Scoob. 2 games. All right. I mean, the expectations are a little unreal for this football team, I think, at times.
But it wasn't pretty, too. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all.
It's been an ugly 10.
Even this game wasn't pretty, Spence. I mean, the offense on both sides. For Texas, it's been a concern coming into this game.
Right.
And they could not run the ball to save their goddamn lives in this game. And for Georgia, they just couldn't really generate anything throughout the passing game. I mean, it's really been a tale of the season watching these two teams go head-to-head.
Yeah, for a while they were like a slow landscaper stuck on 5 yards. I think they were stuck on 5 yards of offense for a quarter and a half. Think about it. I know, we're talking about Georgia, poor Georgia. It's like saying Jeff Bezos has to pay the bill.
Sure.
Okay, they're fine. They have tons of talent. However, this particular version of Georgia had what? Wide receivers who couldn't catch the ball. a run game that could never get out of first gear, a quarterback who, because he was pressing and missing, like Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, like missing a couple of guys who are going to be all pros in the NFL eventually.
No doubt,
Okay, a guy who was pressing and throwing a ton of picks and committing a lot of turnovers. Massive obstacles to success that they overcame before they ever got to this game, and then in this game scrapped together this victory out of bailing wire and happy thoughts.
All right, but
before an offensive coordinator that's trying to find his way.
No
With
question.
Todd Monken going to the NFL.
Yes.
So, a lot. Sorry to cut you off.
No question. We're going to get to all of this, by the way. We're going to talk about the implications and the fallout, possibly from this game as well. But let's get you caught up on actually what happened in Atlanta today, Scoop.
All right, let's go ahead and do it because we got this highlight just cooked up. Fresh out the oven, SEC Championship game, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We got Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian. Hey, Quinn Ewers having a chance to ball, and he rolls out here, finds Matthew Golden deep down the field. Golden had himself a career day, guys.
I love this play right here. Broken play. Quinn Ewers gets out the pocket, and Golden, scramble rules, goes down the sideline. Beautiful throw and catch.
But the problem for Texas was Bert Auburn was struggling to just hit his field goals. That was after a false start, misses that one. So now we go to 1 second left to go in the half. Georgia lining up for a Hail Mary. Carson Beck trying to create some time here. Ends up getting strip sacked, but he would remain down after the play. And this was wild because I thought that Texas was going to have an opportunity to bring it back, and this has ended up being the first SEC championship game where we did not have a touchdown within the first half. But both coaches had something to say, so let's hear from them at the half as they both reacted to not just Carson Beck's injury, but how they played, including the refs calling in the game.
Coach, 8 penalties in this first half. How do you get your team to clean some of that up?
Well, hopefully they call them for a holding one of these times, too.
Carson Beck, what did he say to you?
They just said his hand got hit as he was throwing it there, and guy came all the way around the edge, which people do on that situation. He's got to be aware of. Just get rid of the ball.
All right, so Beck will not return to the game. Insert QB Gunnar Stockton. We just talked about him. The team loves this guy. And the first drive for Gunnar, the team was shooting. He hits Lawson Lucky, and Georgia picks up the first down here, Matt. What a throw.
What a throw. Great catch. Get the toe down. Unbelievable way to start the third.
And then later in the drive, Trevor Etienne gets it in to the end zone, punches it in.
Here.
Just straight up fighting.
Gunnar jumping into the mosh there at the end. He's pumped up. The team's pumped up, ready to go for the second half.
All right, fourth quarter now. Quinn Ewers and that offense started dialing it up. Here, finds his target. DeAndre Moore for the long touchdown off the RPO read. We're tied up at 13, fellas. And then, guess what? We're heading to overtime.
For the first time ever in the SEC Championship game, by the way.
3rd and 10 for Texas. Trying to make something happen, but what a tackle. Great play. Texas is forced to go for the field goal. This is a 32-yard attempt. We saw Auburn miss a couple of those. Almost look similar to the ones that he missed, but he drills it here. And then the way that Georgia ends it, give the ball to Etienne right into the end zone. Georgia wins the SEC Championship 22-19. And Spence, I'm going to go ahead and give you the honors of reacting to this game first. It was a roller coaster. It was a snoozer in the first half, but it completely changed into something else in the second half. What's your immediate reaction?
My immediate reaction is just stunned. I am so surprised that Georgia was able to scrap this together. They looked so bad at times. They looked inept on offense for much of this game. Their backup comes in, as you see, 12 for 16, 71, and an INT, but it got it done, baby. Not pretty, but it absolutely got it done. And you know what? Little underlying story here that highlight Trevor Etienne. Trevor Etienne has kind of had his struggles in this scheme.
Very true. Very true.
Hasn't had a great blocking, and he hasn't sort of adapted to this scheme real well. Coming through in the clutch with 2 scores and 94 yards, that's massive for him.
Totally agree. Agree.
I think it's interesting. If we've learned one thing about Georgia this year, it's that they're gritty, and they're certainly never boring. They have that to their credit, right?
doubt.
Coming into this game, Georgia had trailed They have trailed for 4 hours and 5 minutes of game time coming into this game.
Damn.
From 2021
the numbers.
to 2023, they didn't trail that much for those entire seasons.
That's crazy.
So, like, this team, again, they've trailed a lot. They were get off to slow starts, right? They can't get off to fast starts, but they have been a second-half team. And I remember we're sitting in the room with Spence, and he's like, don't worry, they're going to put up 200 yards in the second half or 200 yards in the fourth quarter, and that's pretty much what happened. They started figuring out the run game.
And I think we can't overstate, right, enough just the importance of coaching and Kirby Smart and his leadership to this football team and what he does down and down out for this team.
Fake punt.
Fake punt. I mean, crucial part of the game. Kept the drive going, right? But you just see, like, every single example of this. When there's a play that's good or bad, he's coaching the guy up.
Yeah.
He is in their ear. He is going through every single step of the game through it with his team. Even the interception, right? Everett. I mean, the Everett interception here at the end. He is literally running the route with him and saying, here comes the comeback, and telling him to cut and turn. So I just want to say that Georgia, is there anything that's super special about them? No, not really, right? What's special about them is that they're coached well and they play hard as hell every single play. And when you do those things, you can win championships because they don't hurt themselves. And now the question really will be, right, and I ask this to all of you, what do you do at the quarterback position if Carson Beck is healthy?
Well, I think first off, because we've seen this happen, there's no question that people are going to make the draw to Florida State last year and Jordan Travis, right? I got to imagine that Kirby Smart in the post-game presser, to steal a line from one of my favorite TV characters, Ari Gold, I'm going to lie, beg, borrow, cheat, and steal. I'm going to say Carson Beck is completely fine. He's going to be playing, no worries about it, because the committee has shown that they have been able to ding teams because of their quarterback issues last year.
Yeah, we're going to put up your Venmo later so Florida State fans can contribute
Yeah.
when we bring this up. Say, we haven't forgotten, and we are paying all due respects to you and your struggles last year. Yeah, lie about it. Carson Beck's fine. You don't want to give the committee an excuse to do anything because we're already sort of foggy on their decision-making anyway.
Right. Yeah,
right?
That's a good point.
What you do if you're Georgia is you say, it doesn't really matter. You've seen, we've won with anybody back there, right? Raven County's finest got us there. We can take it the rest of the way. And that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I am so interested to see how they do in a playoff because what happens in a playoff? You're playing with attrition, you're playing with injuries, you're playing with a depth chart that is just bleeding out talent due to the fact that you are extending the season that much further.
Right.
Who's deeper than Georgia? It might be ugly. It might be the nastiest football you've ever seen in your life. It might all be weird numbers like 22-19 in overtime. But guess what? I've seen that they can do it. They're extremely dangerous.
That's right.
And let's not
give them
battle
time
tested.
to prepare.
Yeah.
Give them time to prepare.
They got a lot of time
and
now.
I'm going to put more chips on that side.
You said that
than
last
others.
week. If you're going to have one coach to coach me one game, I'm going with Kirby Smart.
Have to
every
right
single
now.
time.
And let's not forget, too, Carson Beck was actually the guy that was in the game to end the game.
That's right.
I'm not saying that was a concerted effort by Kirby.
It was his handoff that got them the score.
He did put it back in the game to say, hey, maybe he is still good.
Team on his back.
All right, so let's kind of flip this forward now and talk about the team that lost this game, which means it's time now for Can't Take the Heat, built by the Home Depot. Look, it was a successful campaign, I think, for Texas, their first year in the SEC. Huge win over Texas A&M, a blowout in the Red River rivalry, but they did lose to Georgia twice. So I'll come to you, Maddie, to start this conversation. Where does Texas now kind of rank in the hierarchy of the SEC? Because when you think about it, this has been Georgia and Alabama for a long time, and Texas now just joining. So
I still believe that Texas is capable of winning a national championship. I just have too much evidence throughout the year to not believe in that. Now, unfortunately for them, they have run into the other team that I also believe can win the national championship. Why do I like them so much? I think Steve Sarkisian, offensively, other than Kirby Smart, is going to out-scheme every other defensive coordinator that's available right now in the college football playoff. Maybe other than Oregon would be, I think, the biggest headache for him with their skill set and what they do defensively. He gets people open consistently. They're balanced. Now, hey, Georgia took away the run game today, but you saw the multiple play action passes and schemes that he got open in second level, explosive plays consistently against this secondary. So that is a key for me as well. My one hang-up, though, is Quinn does seem to make the one or two plays, I feel like each and every game, where it's like, why are you forcing the issue, right? And Your offensive coordinator and head coach, he's going to take care of you. He's going to give you those opportunities. You don't need to force the issue with the skill set that they have and the way they design the offense. But I do feel like every now and then Quinn just presses just a little bit, and that ultimately I think was the difference in the game today. You know, he had 2 interceptions, really should have had 3. Harris dropped the one in the low red zone earlier in the game.
Yeah, overall, though, Quinn played probably one of the better games I've seen him play outside of that Michigan game.
Right.
Where, I mean, he was pushing the ball down the field. We've looked at it and talked about it multiple times on this show. Quinn Ewers' average yards per air attempt is in the bottom 5 of the country. He does not throw the ball down the field. But today, what did we see? They were throwing that thing on that field, man. That pigskin was going deep. We're talking 10 explosive pass plays within the game for Texas here. 27 for 46, 358 yards, 122.5 QB rating. But where the problem was now is that pass rush. Texas, that offensive line, damaged. Kelvin Banks didn't play. Huge storyline coming into this game.
Definitely.
Georgia, an SEC championship record, 6 sacks on Quinn Ewers. What did they do in that first matchup, Spence? They got after the quarterback again and again and again. And there was multiple negative plays that affected Texas here. And one of the things about Texas from last year coming into this season is how do you fare within the red zone? They're above average, but not great. And in this game, it cost them 6 points because you had 2 missed field goals within the red zone. And ultimately, that's where I saw the mistakes.
How do you view Texas's first year in the SEC? Because there were obviously high expectations coming off the conference championship last year and the college football playoff appearance last year. Coming into the SEC, they did their job against a quote-unquote maybe a lesser schedule. But how do you view Texas's season this year?
A raving success.
Yeah.
Like that's not what any like old SEC head wants to hear. But yeah, a raving success. They were fine. And if you don't believe they were fine, again, my Venmo, I'll put it up because Texas fans appreciate this. I'm going to say bad things about Oklahoma. How did you do, Oklahoma? How was your first year? Come on in, sit down. We'd love to discuss it with you because it didn't go as well as Texas's did. Texas obviously has the talent. The only difference I can see in this game is that they weren't able to run the ball. So Texas still has some work. I know there were injuries. I know that probably affected what they were able to do up front. They still have to get bigger and beefier up front, okay? Because if you can't run it against Georgia, especially this year, because Georgia gave up yards on the ground, not to great teams, but to UMass, all right? And yes, to a good Georgia Tech team.
Right.
But if you couldn't do that up front and running the ball fixes everything, this game would have had a very different outcome.
And to your point, the first time that they met up, how was Texas's run game? 27 rushes for 29 yards in their first meeting. And then as we went into overtime, what did Texas have? 27 rushes for 26 yards. So they were even worse. They weren't even running the ball as well. That is a huge concern. And then here's another thing that y'all need to think about. Now that Texas lost this game, who have they beat? Who has Texas beat? Matt, you were bringing this up in our conversation. And this is just a shout out to Alabama fans. Since Spencer's saying it, my Venmo will be available after the show as well because Alabama, you now have a win against the SEC champion, baby. And that is going to be hard to keep you out the college football playoff.
I'm not sharing my Venmo with anybody, but yeah. Spence, what do you got?
The last point I will make is this. I know Texas got beat up today by a Georgia team that all they had was whooping, right? That's all they had to give out, and they did a great job winning. Texas recovered beautifully because I was on the field at field level for that first game in Austin.
Right.
Texas was not ready for the kind of hitting that these dudes do at Georgia. They were not ready. This time they were. They rose to that challenge.
No doubt.
They're real close.
Real close. But at the end of the day, it is Georgia coming away with the SEC championship here in 2024. Both of these teams are going to have more football to be played as well. And you can hear Spencer, by the way, he's going to be on the college football playoff show tomorrow on Sunday. So, Spencer, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. All right, so also in Charlotte today, we have the ACC Championship. I know, there were other games. One of them including also a new conference member in SMU taking on Clemson.
Championship for Clemson. The song remains the same. Clemson's Tigers are the kings.
Legacy and a long sustained reign in the ACC. That's Clemson.
Clemson Tigers have won in thrilling and dramatic fashion.
Surprising, inspiring, and dominant in their conference debut.
How about those Mustangs?
That's SMU.
Jennings off to the races.
Tonight, there's a title on the line and a place in the college football playoff.
So much at stake today. Mustangs trying to get playoff ready. Hunting another ACC crown.
One looks to repeat history.
This is what we do.
The other to make it.
First year in the league, you're in the championship.
The all-timers against the newcomers.
We coming.
For the ACC Championship.
Most of the drama this weekend revolves around the ACC, and you can see why. Because chances to make the college football playoff with an SMU loss. You see Alabama now at 77%. According to the All-State playoff predictor, it falls to 23% for SMU. That's really where the chaos kind of comes into play. And as of right now, the chaos is playing to script because Clemson has struck first in Charlotte, and they lead it 7-0 in the ACC Championship. So there's the question right there. Should Alabama be in the college football playoff over SMU if SMU loses this game? Scoob, what do you got?
Okay, I was going to open it up to Mr. SEC Homer here, but I'll start us off.
Yeah.
Should SMU get in even if they lose this game? After seeing Georgia just win the SEC Championship, I say no. And it sounds terrible to say because, yes, SMU has earned it. You shouldn't get punished for going towards your conference championship game and then getting kicked out after you lose. So how you lose is going to be something that we're going to keep a very close eye on. But on top of that, for Alabama, you have the win against the SEC champion now. For Alabama, you have a win against South Carolina, the team deemed as one of the hottest teams in the country. And then for SMU, you don't have any great wins. Their strength of schedule is in the 70s, Matt. It is the worst of all the teams playing in the conference championship weekend. So that's what I have to say for SMU. Your case is not great if you lose because your strength of schedule is weak. But as we talk about this game, why don't you do the honors?
Wow, that's so generous.
We're going to do a live look in. Let's
player.
actually see what's happening in this game.
All right, so by the way, let's keep in mind, this game's being played outside, unlike the other conference championship games. And this game in Charlotte, this is the first ever meeting between these two schools.
Well, something cute.
Reverse here. Reverse.
That looked like a bad throw.
I don't know about that. No, about that. But the Mustangs, 2-point favorites in this game, guys. No one has more ACC championships than Clemson. They've won 7 of the last 9. This is almost like another home game, if you will, for Clemson. I don't know. Your thoughts on this game overall? Let's start here.
My thoughts overall, I originally was picking SMU in this football game. And I really like them just because I think Kevin Jennings is a phenomenal football player. Smith, running back, playing great football. Yeah. They're explosive. He makes great plays. He can play that backyard style ball, too, that I think is difficult to prepare for. I do a radio show with Derek Dooley, right? Longtime coach, been coached with Kirby, Smart, Nick Saban, all that kind of stuff, like through the years. He knows what he's talking about, right? And he was just like, it's tough to pick against Clemson in this situation just because they kind of know what the stakes are that come with these games.
And they've been there. Think about the location of this game.
They've coached in them a little bit more, the location of it. He goes, you kind of favor the team that is just a little bit more aware of the situation that they're walking into.
A lot of empty seats, though. You see that? Check it out. I thought we'd see a lot more.
Don't say that.
There is. There's a lot of orange in there. Take a look. There's a lot of empty seats in that thing, man.
I hear you.
A lot of orange, no question. So that's.
I think that's a good point to be made. And for SMU, I think it really just depends now on. You can't lose ugly. That's really what it comes down to. It's got to be less than like a field goal or a touchdown to survive, I think.
Sam, who is the best defense that SMU has seen this season?
Statistically speaking?
Pitt.
Probably. I would have guessed Duke, probably.
Duke,
okay.
Yes.
Well, they had six turnovers that
Yes,
game,
exactly. So when I look at what SMU has done this season, I kind of have questions about their offense because, yes, they have seen Pitt. Yes, it looked great early on when Pitt was 7-0, but now they've gone from 7-0 to 7-5. So it's not as much of a great win as it initially was.
Yeah.
And for that game against Duke, you forced 6 turnovers, but you only won by 1 point. So technically, for SMU, you haven't seen a defense to this caliber of Clemson.
That's right.
And I think that this offense is going to experience something that they aren't necessarily used to. And Clemson is up 7-0 in this game. We're hearing we have the touchdown racked up. So, Sam, Show it to us, brother.
Yeah, we got a Cade Klubnik pass over to Bryant Wesco Jr. And a lot of these younger players on the wideouts positions for Clemson, we're kind of waiting to see. Bryant Wesco Jr. was one of them. How about this? Klubnik running around, now pulling it back, wide open Wesco Jr. Just kind of a breakdown defensively for SMU there, Matty.
Yeah, and just for all the SMU fans that are watching this show, I know you're outnumbered by a lot of the other fans that are trying to get into the playoff, but that was an illegal man downfield. Actually, 2 men illegally downfield because that was a draw play designed there for Cade Klubnik. And we had 2 offensive linemen that were 3 yards down the football field on that touchdown pass. So technically illegal, but they got away with it. And that's just me playing devil's advocate in the situation.
It seemed like the threat of I agree with you, by the way.
Yeah, it's all good.
But the threat of Cade Klubnik's legs there is definitely something that the defense is going to have to keep their mind on.
Yeah.
And if you guys were going to have to take a pick, who do you think has more rushing yards at the quarterback position this year? Is it Cade Klubnik or Jennings?
It's Klubnik.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might have said Jennings. Yeah, I might have thought Jennings.
Klubnik's gone off in a few
Right?
games here, especially late. And also, too, you got to remember, he was the leading rusher in the Pitt game.
That's
they
right.
only rushed for about 60 yards.
He had that 50-yard,
on the one run.
That's right.
A little misleading.
Yeah, right. So he is a weapon with his legs, and it's gotten better and better as the season has gone along. And with this game, man, I'll lean on your point a little bit, Matt. Like, Clemson's been there, done that. They're playing in the Carolinas. SMU, this is kind of new to you. It's an uphill battle for me when I think about it.
And Spence mentioned it earlier, too, with Georgia and Texas when they played against each other. Texas just wasn't used to the physicality of the SEC to what Georgia's used to. It kind of shocked them that first time around. Second time around, they were ready to go. You know, for SMU, this is really kind of their first taste of this high-level football in the conference.
And last thing on SMU, they have been a very opportunistic team this year,
doubt.
I think. Like, they have lived off the turnovers, 21 turnovers defensively. They got 4 defensive touchdowns as well.
That's right.
So true.
Let's keep in mind.
Defensive line is pressuring at a very high rate consistently throughout the game.
This is also not the same Clemson team that turned the ball over a ton last year. They have, I think they're one of the best in the country this year.
The same way that we make the case for Indiana, we can't, take anything away from SMU because they've taken care of business, right? Since BYU, since, we even heard Kenny Dillingham earlier today, right, say that, well, with our starting quarterback healthy, we're an 11-1 football team.
Yep.
When Kevin Jennings was inserted into the lineup, they're an undefeated football team.
That's
so, we can make the case, and again, this is where, when we go through this process, we can disprove or prove kind of however we feel, and I think that's the tough thing that committee's having this year.
You could ignore all of the qualifiers when it comes to Oregon because they are undefeated with the same quarterback.
That's right.
They are playing in the Big Ten championship game against Penn State right now. 7-0 is the score. Another conference newcomer in Oregon, the only remaining undefeated team, taking on the Nittany Lions, who just kind of backed their way into this thing. But they got a chance to win the conference for the first time since 2016. Look, I want to go back to July, if we will, for a second and talk about Oregon. When they went to Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis, they had a 65-foot inflatable duck that was floating down the river in Indianapolis and really kind of announced their presence to the league. But I thought Dan Lanning said something really interesting then. He said, I think that the Big Ten is going to have to adapt to us as much as we have to adapt to the Big Ten. I think it turns out that's exactly what happened this year.
For sure. And I think the same sense of Sarkisian, right, and Texas, Dan Lanning had already kind of built this team to play Big Ten football already. Right? And in a lot of ways, they're a little bit more advanced because their offense is better structured with Dylan Gabriel and Will Stein as their offensive coordinator. They do a lot of good things, right? Whereas Penn State, they upgraded the offensive coordinator.
Wow.
But
I'll just wait for you to be done, man.
Sorry.
Let's head back to this Clemson game. Another note for everybody out there that's really interesting about Conference Championship Weekend. Every single championship game has a newcomer playing in it, that being SMU in this one.
Wow, so this is a quick drive here. That was a 3-and-out by SMU.
Yeah.
Clemson and Cade Klubnik down in the red zone right now, trying to make it a 2-score game.
I mean, I hope everyone watching is aware of the possible chaos situation if Clemson wins this game. Because we're looking at a situation where Clemson becomes a bid stealer, SMU will be making a case to stay within the playoff, Alabama will be making a case to go into the playoff.
Yeah, it's a great point. And as Clemson tries to add to their lead, they have been a
touchdown.
There you go.
Good play design right there by Riley.
And if they get steamrolled,
They're out.
Right?
They're out.
If they go ahead and put it on you.
Well, I mean, just a few weeks ago, we were saying, well, yeah, maybe 2 Big 12 teams could maybe sneak in if chaos happens in other situations. And, like, in today's game, if that was still debatable, right, you would say, no, Iowa State is not going to be playing in the playoffs by the way that they lost. And I think the same thing could be made here today, right? If SMU does not hang in there and play tough, right, and make this a close loss, they're going to be out. Right?
This just goes back, like, the level of competition that they've seen. Yes, their coach had a point, right, where he said, when we played the teams that are on our schedule, they were ranked at the time. And then we beat them, and then all of a sudden
they weren't ranked anymore.
They're not ranked anymore.
Right.
But what we really judge it for is at the end of the season, when we finally have the entire sample size, where are the teams that you played? Where are they ranked?
Right.
And for SMU, it has all downgraded as the season has gone along, and I think we're seeing it in this game that, hey, you clearly didn't play that many great teams. And Clemson, they're a tough team, man. I know they just lost to South Carolina last week, but they played a good game against South Carolina. South Carolina just played a better game.
No doubt. And we know that South Carolina is one of the hottest teams in the country, right? A team that we thought could be in the playoffs. And I think also for us, big picture-wise, Dabo, Sweeney, Clemson, this is also why it favors you to play teams like Georgia to start the year.
2 SEC teams this year.
Right. So
2.
that's like hey, I understand that they lost to Georgia and it was not a good loss, but they are a more prepared football team in these big moments now for playing teams like that.
No question. And in many respects, there was actually more pressure on SMU to win this game, right? I mean, because of...
And they're favored in this game.
They are favored by 2.5. But the potential fallout as well is just another reason. All right, over in the Big 12 today, Iowa State, Arizona State facing off in Arlington. One team was picked to finish 6th in the preseason.
We're happy now.
One team was picked to finish dead last. That's how this thing shook out. It was a crazy year in the Big 12. Iowa State defense looking lost. Here's Sam Levitt running it in, 3 yards for the score. Arizona State going to regain the lead now 10-3, and they would never look back because the biggest question in this game, hey, Iowa State, can you stop Cam Skubie? The answer was an emphatic no.
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 Not at all. Absolutely not.
Arizona State building up the 17-10 lead. Skubie, 170 yards on the ground, Maddie, 102 of which came after contact. That's ridiculous.
Last time I checked, Sam, that's a really good day at work.
Say so. Skubie just kind of showing off the Heisman pose at this point. Sun Devils extend the lead 24-10. Like we mentioned, too, there was no Jordan Tyson in this game. No Jordan Tyson going forward. He's their best receiver. So who's stepping up? Xavier Guillory outplaying the Cyclones here. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. Guillory, incredible filling in those shoes. This is one of the best catches of the day as well.
My goodness.
Got to be one of the best catches of the season, considering what the stakes were today for this team. So phenomenal concentration, fighting through traffic right there, reaching out, grabbing the football. And then I love this too at the end. Like, yep, I caught it.
Yeah, stick it out there. Let them know that it was a catch.
This game out of reach at this point. Levitt just going to dump it off to Skubie. And he's going to turn the lights out in Arlington, walking his way into the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of their leading wide receivers as well. I mean, he's a do-it-all type of man. He did the Heisman pose how many times, Sam, in this game?
He did it 3 times in this game,
yeah. He wants everybody to know that he should be up there for Heisman consideration. And after that performance, I'm right there with you, man. 200 cumulative yards in this game, 3 total touchdowns. Heck of a game from Skubie.
Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham, straight out of a sports movie. I mean, Kenny grew up 15 minutes from the stadium there in Tempe, had a dream of becoming the coach and turning this program around. And let's remember that Arizona State has been under a ton of sanctions from the NCAA, violations. They won 3 total games each of the last 2 years. They had the second biggest turnaround in FBS this year. And then they win the Big 12. I mean, you just can't script it any better than that.
And I love, too, just the courage that he had in this game. There they are, 4th and inches to start the game in the first quarter. Yeah. And, hey, it's really, let's just give it to Cam. Just run it up in there and get the first down. No, he play action, took a shot to Stovall, and it paid off huge for them. And it really set the tone, I feel like, for the rest of the football game.
Yeah.
Because you could just see that, like, hey, they were going to put it on the table. They were saying, hey, we're going to let it fly. We're going to play and just cut this thing loose. And I feel like that had a huge effect on the rest of the game. Just like what we saw Dan Campbell and the Lions, right, with that courage in fourth down situations, I feel like the team fed off Kenny Dillingham and his aggressiveness in his play calling in this one. And, of course, this guy, number 4, I mean, that's like what I did with the creative player when I used to play like NCAA football back in the day.
Yeah.
But this guy's doing it in real life against real people.
Yeah.
Low center of gravity, dense football player. We saw, too, during the broadcast, right, totally changed his body with his offseason routine, losing
lost
15
pounds and looked
15.
Looked bigger, but he was just leaner,
No doubt.
cleaner. I mean, everything.
So, there he is, powerful, low center of gravity, bouncing off people, physical. And you can see as the game wore on, too, Iowa State was like, no, we don't want to tackle.
No, we don't want any part of that. And they've been a really bad run defense all year long. The question is going to be when they go on and face a real defense in the college football playoff, how effective can they be using Cam Skubie? I think that's one of the biggest questions, Scoob, and I'll ask you, based on what we saw in the beatdown today, how much faith do you have in Arizona State to make some noise in the playoff this year?
Sam, a team in the playoffs has to do one of these two things well. That's play defense or run the dang football.
Yeah.
And what we just saw, we said the name multiple times, Cam Skubie. The fact that he has had such an impressive season, you see it on the bottom of the screen, over 1,500 rushing yards, and is on pace to set a school record. The way in which they're playing right now, you can definitely argue that they're one of the hottest teams in the country. They've rattled off 6 straight. And then with their starting quarterback in the game, they've only lost once this entire year. And you're hearing the case already being made that Arizona State should be ahead of Boise State. The group of 5 conversation, whether they should be where they are. We're going to have that conversation even more going forward. But here's the quote from Brett Yomark, the Big 12 commissioner. He said, in no way should a group of 5 champion be ranked above our champion. Now, Arizona State is ranked, correct me if I'm wrong, 15th in the country. I see it there.
Yeah.
Boise State is ranked 10th. Do they make that leap from what the committee is watching today? Because keep in mind, everybody, this is the only time of the entire season where the committee is in the same room together watching the games at the same time. So if you're going to make an impression on them, now is the time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him. I do. It's really hard for me to say that with Boise State and what they've done. Now, I understand their only loss is to Oregon, and it's a close loss, right? And it's the best team in the country. But week in and week out, their schedule is not as difficult as any of the other Power 4 conference teams that are available.
Yep.
And that, to me, is just the facts. I mean, a close win against Nevada, right? One of their best wins of the year is a Washington State team, right? And I understand it's a good win. And, they got 8 wins on the year, all that. But
I don't think Nevada won a conference game this year.
They did not. No, I think they're like, I think they only won 3 games on the year. So, and they only beat them by maybe like a point or 2. And that's where I feel like my concern for this Boise State football team, right? Realistically, I'm not sure, why we hold them a little bit higher than some of the others. And also, that goes back to my complaint, too, that I had with just like not sure why we're ranking everybody so early, so quickly, right? And predetermining and also setting a precedent that it's hard for us to go back on.
Right.
Right? And that's my biggest concern.
And I think that's the point. And it's a point well taken, too. The caveat is it's not going to happen. The caveat is Boise State, if everything holds, is going to get that first round bye. Now, if Clemson were to go on and win this game, it's kind of a moot point because both the Big 12 champion Arizona State and Boise State would likely get those first round byes. But let's continue this conversation. Time now for AT&T countdown to the CFP National Championship, and let's go up to our little big board here and talk about it. We got the most recent college football playoff rankings according to the 13-member committee, and again, we are just about or less than 24 hours away from this being the real deal.
Yes.
So here was the most recent one that was released.
Okay.
Obviously, the SMU game is still up for grabs. We're going to see what happens there. But if SMU wins, they're likely going to stay where they are.
Okay.
So obviously,
SMU just scored 2. We'll have that play racked up for y'all real soon.
All right.
Now to 14-7 games.
Let's start with Texas. Where does Texas fall in all of this now? Because Georgia is going to get this bye. So do they just flip spots, do you think? Or
let's just do that for now.
Okay.
Just to avoid any confusion.
Oh, that's the resume.
Just show you
That's
the
the resume,
Yep. So let's go like this here.
There you go.
Okay.
There we go.
And Georgia right over there.
Good
All right,
teamwork.
so let's just do that for right
Yeah.
now. Okay. So now we have Oregon, Penn State, right, playing tonight. If Oregon, Penn State, let's say that this holds true. Oregon wins, Penn State loses. Do they still stay in the 5 spot in this situation if they lose again and go 11-2?
If Penn State loses this game, I think we go like this, right? We're going to put
that would
Ohio
be-
State there.
That would be something.
And then Penn State. Now, the 8-9 spot is where you don't want to be.
No, that's a nightmare.
If you're a
Right,
team,
yeah.
because then you got to see Oregon again. And you also got to see Tennessee. So you see,
Yeah.
you have one of the toughest paths.
But this is where going into the conference championship is like, man, we're getting punished because we played an extra game because we were good.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, for Penn State, you got blessed to be in this conference championship game.
That's a
so-
steep fall. For
No
Penn
doubt,
State.
no doubt. All right,
I
but-
think a lot of people have them at 5, even
Okay.
though they have the head-to-head. I think that Penn State should fall behind Ohio State. But what are you doing with Notre Dame? Because Notre Dame's not playing in a conference championship.
So are
They're
you
probably a lock at
I
six.
think they're a lock at 6.
Yeah,
too.
so you got to hold them there. You're not going to move Indiana. You're not going to put Penn State above Texas, do you? Maybe that's what we do here. Maybe we go like this.
Well, we were
right?
just talking about Texas's resume. Who have they beaten? I
maybe
don't-
we go-
But you could say the same for Penn State. So
Okay.
now that's
Now that's
Maybe
a
we go
problem
like
in
that.
the Sims household.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So,
that is a real problem.
Oh my
because-
God, that would be awesome though.
Because you can definitely make the case for Penn State to be up ahead over there. And Texas, you've lost twice to the same team, right? And now all of a sudden, you're at the 8th spot.
I just go back to what I was sharing with you guys in previous weeks, and then again here as we have this. Just would like to see conferences split up. You know, I don't want to see Indiana, Penn State. Like, you know, it
I hear
didn't happen
you.
in the regular season. I don't want to see another Big Ten matchup. Now,
So you want to put
but
it back
that's
to
just
this?
me.
You want to put it back to that?
Yeah, let's do that just
Okay.
for the sake of this exercise. Because I want to see teams play against each other that we don't typically see.
Okay.
Right?
So,
and I
so
think
for
that's
the
better.
for the sake of this exercise,
Yeah.
then let's do this. All right? Because I know a lot of people are going to be wanting that.
Oh, God.
Boise State wouldn't be at the 12. I think they'll be put at a better spot. But where's Arizona State here? If I can find them.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right there.
Okay.
15.
All right. So put them there. Then where does Boise State end
Well,
up?
right now they're not in. They're
not
out.
in. They're going to be out.
So yeah. So where's
Clemson?
Clemson here? So
Yep.
this is
Clemson
what
right there.
this is what it would look like.
Gotcha. Yep.
Actually, you would have them here, and then you
Yep.
would have Boise State probably in the 3 spot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Wow. Okay, this would be really. All right, let's play it out real quick. Let's play it out. Clemson, Ohio State. Who you got?
That's a home game for Ohio State.
Yeah.
You take the Buckeyes there, no?
Okay, yeah, Buckeyes for sure. I think the Buckeyes would win that football game. All right, now Tennessee, Penn State. Ooh.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
We
all
can
right.
throw a little bit of.
I understand. It's the Nittany Lions home
Go
field.
ahead.
I
Let's
know.
play it out.
I'm having fun. All right.
But there's bound to be an upset in the first round.
All
so.
right, now Alabama, Notre Dame. What Alabama do we get that day? All right, I'm going to say they get the bad Alabama. I'm going Notre Dame wins.
The early lines on this is Notre Dame is a favorite in this game.
All right. And then Texas, Indiana. I mean, one of my favorites to win the national championship. Okay, I've done enough. I'm sorry. I was over aggressive there. No doubt. That's kind of why. Yeah.
Round 3.
Round three. Let's go. All right, so what do we got? Who do you think? Ohio State, Arizona State. Who are you guys picking?
Going like this.
All right, what is the point spread in that football game? That's what I want to know. What do you think?
Neutral field.
I think you take Ohio State 3.5 here. 3.5 or 4. That's what I would go with.
Okay.
I don't think it's more than. Yeah, I don't think it's more than 7.
All right, so now Tennessee, Oregon. All right,
That's a
Tennessee,
great
Oregon.
matchup.
It is a fun matchup.
I'm going there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think really just I go with Dylan Gabriel, just more trusted, more experience. I think that's Tennessee.
for the sake of
good
exercise.
defense,
Yep.
good defense and all that, but just like haven't seen enough consistency from the offense to really buy it for a national championship.
Why can't? Tell me why Boise State can't win this game.
Why can't they? Can they stop the three-headed monster of the backfield of Notre Dame, right? That's the biggest thing, right? With Price, Love, and Leonard running the football and the way that they run block, it's extremely impressive. Now, I do think Ashton Denty potentially could go off.
He could eat, yeah.
He could definitely do that because I'm worried about Notre Dame's defensive line for sure. But passing secondary and forcing turnovers, I'm going to give Notre Dame the slight edge in that one, especially, I might give him a slight edge in that one.
Do you think Boise State would rather see Notre Dame or Alabama? Like, which one would they rather see?
I think they would rather see Notre Dame. Actually,
I don't know.
I can make the case really for both.
Yeah.
That's a toss-up.
That's an interesting one.
It is.
All right, Texas, Georgia, round 3. Does Georgia beat Texas 3 times in 1 year?
I don't think so.
I think Texas
finally figures it out.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt. He figured it out.
Yeah.
He figured it out. The team that figured it out, they just didn't capitalize and make the plays they needed to.
All right.
And now this one, right? I mean, do we? I don't want to be disrespectful to Notre Dame fans, but like I just think that Texas is in another class than you guys are.
And I'm taking Oregon. So.
And you're taking
Guys, it's another week we have ended up with the same 2 teams.
Did we do this last week?
National championship. Yes. Oregon, Texas national championship. It just all happens to fall that way. But there are a lot of different scenarios that can happen here, and this is all for fun. This is fluid. This is what we're just doing.
We're just having a good time.
All right. So while we were filling this out and moving SMU out of this whole thing, Kevin Jennings said, "Hold on, wait a second. We got an update here from the ACC Championship game. Kevin Jennings using his legs, Matty, using his legs.
There we go. Oh, great blocking down the field right there by the receiver. Great job getting on the safety.
You know what Kevin Jennings needs to do? He needs to do his best Lenoris Sellers impression in this game because Clemson has not been great at covering running quarterbacks.
All right, time now for the playbook presented by Modelo. Alabama has been an incredibly confusing team this year, which is why we have our very own QB Matt Sims to help us break down and make some sense out of Jalen Milroe in Alabama this year. So they hang 42 on LSU, and then 2 weeks later, they can't score a touchdown against Oklahoma.
Right.
I mean, this team, if we do know one thing, they run as Jalen Milroe runs, right? I mean,
absolutely. The whole team is predicated on the success of their quarterback, and the offense obviously goes through him. He is the best weapon that they have. And at times, it's been working to perfection. At other times, it's been frustrating. And here is a great example of this. Everyone knows, right, this game, Oklahoma, they struggled in it. All right, he only passed for about 160 yards in this football game, only rushed for 7. And with that recipe, they're not going to win the football games. In this situation, you see the Oklahoma defense, they have a 4-down defensive front, right? They have 2 backers in, and we're going to get a motion here by Alabama. They're going to send a receiver out here, and we're going to get basically a RPO decision by Jalen Milroe. It is either going to be the run or throw the receiver screen up here with the 2 guys blocking.
That's it.
All right, that's it. Yeah. So for this situation, we're going to get a down look. So all these guys essentially are blocking down on the nearest defender with the guard pulling around, leading up into the hole. He also has an extra blocker, the running back, that will be following the guard as well to be an extra blocker for either that inside backer or a safety that appears in the hole. Now, what I want you to notice about this, right, in this situation, the tackle has an easy down block to pin this near side defensive tackle. I want you to see what happens here. Crosses face, throws him away. So now already the play is disrupted. The guard that is pulling is surprised by the defensive tackle already being there at the line of scrimmage. So what's the big weapon for this defensively? Penetration at the line of scrimmage. You can see right here, everyone is still stuck at the line of scrimmage. Our tackle missed the block where he has the perfect angle. He misses. He now affects the puller, and everything is thrown off. You see the tackle now, he's like, I don't know who to block. So now what does Oklahoma do? They continue to collapse that line of scrimmage. You see all the bodies right here. Is there any lane for Jalen Milroe to run through? No, there isn't. Now this is the other part that I want you to see. Look at the hustle and the focus by the Oklahoma secondary of identifying the play and then playing to the whistle, right? Okay, great. He makes the next guy miss. But now watch. Here comes the rest of the cavalry. 4 Oklahoma defenders straining. Look at Alabama on the other side of it, watching the play, not sure what to do. Oklahoma finishing the play out, tackle for a loss. The hustle and strain was there all day by the Sooner defense.
That's the flip side of having such an athletic quarterback because there are some things that he can do that nobody else can do,
Absolutely.
Right?
And there's times where he does that and he breaks it off for a 30-yard run. And this was the case where Oklahoma, great team defense and really just playing very hard, well-coached each and every football play. Here's another great example that we have here. We have an empty formation. The bottom receiver here, you can't really see him on the screen here, but empty. We're spreading the field out as much as we possibly can. For Alabama, we have a hook route, an in cut, and then a hitch on the outside. This side is the man side, right? It's that wide and fade we always talk about, and then basically a hitch, all right? Now, Oklahoma matches this with a 4-down defensive front. They're playing quarters coverage on the back end. So each guy has quarters here. And now these 3 guys underneath Here's your flat defender. Here's your hook defender. Here's your flat defender. Now, all Jalen has to do is make one of these defenders wrong, right? So for him, you got to watch this guy. It's quarters coverage. He's the flat defender. If he buzzes out, you take the hook underneath right here for the easy completion. Right. What happens in this situation, he predetermines, he knows that it's free access on the outside here to the tight end. He plants his third step, and he just pulls the trigger. He doesn't notice that the flat defender is sprinting out there underneath that hitch. And as you can see right here, there's a space for him to hit this one right here between the two backers. The predetermined leads to the pick six in this situation. And this is really just what we saw all day from Jalen Milroe. Predetermined, trying to go.
All right, so that's some of the bad. Now let's go to some of the good, because there was some good in the Iron Bowl. What'd you see?
Yeah, so in the Iron Bowl, I saw two things, right? Winning at the line of scrimmage by the offensive line, aggressive downfield passing, but a mixture of screen passes. So here we're going to see a really cool concept, right? A post concept, right? A corner, and then a whip route. For Jalen Milroe, I think that he reads longer developing plays down the field better than he does some of the stuff over the middle. It's easier for him to see. It's easier for him to take advantage of his strong arm. So in this situation, Auburn matches it with man coverage. He's well protected. Because he's such a good athlete, they rush three and spy him with the two others. He does a great job buying time, and then you see the strong arm delivering the football all the way to the sideline for an explosive play. So that's the key for them and their success, is those mixtures of easy completions, but then getting in some of those explosive downfield passes.
Sure. And then he can also do that.
Yes.
He can make work with his legs.
Right.
And then he can also air it out with his arm. He is a true dual threat guy.
So now Alabama, they go with an unbalanced line here, right? We have a tight end and a receiver. They're on top of each other right here in this situation. That's why the tight end is off the football here. So the unbalanced look, they're trying to set the Auburn defense to the field more. What is that doing? That gives the Alabama offense an advantage to go down block all the way with each of their offensive players here. And then they are going to lead with the halfback blocking out on this extra defender. Jalen is going to fake the handoff to the back and then follow him through the lane. And once he gets, again, ahead of steam, right, look at the drive, right, look at the push by the offensive line. You can see here, a little different than what we saw at Oklahoma, right, driving, right, hat placement in the proper position. There's a lot of red blocking the white jerseys here on this side. He just rides that wave, gets ahead of steam, and in these situations, he is almost unstoppable. So these are a few of the examples of what we saw, and that's a good move right there in the end zone. These are a few of the examples of the bad and the really good of Alabama, and we'll see which one shows up here in the playoffs.
And we'll see if they can get to the playoffs still, because we still have to see what happens with the ACC. But that was the playbook. Thank you very much, Maddie. We appreciate it. All right, time now for the 2-minute drill presented by the Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card.
Yes, sir.
College Game Day was down to the SEC Championship with Timothy Chalamet as the guest picker. He surprised us all with his football acumen.
Yeah, why you clapping, bro?
My favorite team.
SMU? SMU is your favorite team?
Return of the Pony Express. A big shout out to my Uncle Andy.
Hold on, Slick.
My bad. Uncle Andy, that's for you, man. Kevin Jennings, legit Heisman contender next year. My humble opinion. I'm pulling for SMU. It smells like the 1980s, folks.
I love it. You weren't around in the 80s, but that's great research.
All right, Slick.
That was tough. All right, Boise State, UNLV. Ashton Genty delivers the boom. Listen, when you see him coming through the lane, you better scramble like an egg or you get folded like an omelet. What a tough hit. Hey, 209 yards rushing and a touchdown. Boise State going to the playoffs.
It's the CUSA championship game, Conference USA. Jacksonville State crushed Western Kentucky. Here was the only bright spot for Big Red. Keyshawn Johnson with a nice TD grab, 7th of the year.
That was an Andre Johnson type of grab.
It was incredible. It was the only bright spot, though. Only bright spot.
All right, so we got Miami, Ohio. And check out Parker Navarro rolling right and throwing a dart on the rope. Coleman Owen, no relation to Terrell Owens, gets it in the end zone. Bobcats would win it 38-3 to win the chip.
All right, over in the Big 12 with Arizona State's leading receiver, Jordan Tyson out. They needed somebody to step up. Xavier Guillory was that guy.
Ridiculous.
He had a great game and stepped up big time. This was one of the best catches of the day.
I mean, acrobatic. Look at him basically do a split in the air, Sam. This is nuts.
Incredible.
All right, let's go to Army Tulane. Now, we've had good and bad things to say about kickers on this show, especially in the Texas game, but we got something good here with Trey Granati, the kicker, forcing a fumble on the play, and Army was rolling in this one. Hey, kicker, good job, buddy. You do more than just kick. You make plays on special teams.
Hey, Maddie, speaking of Army, they got the Army-Navy game coming up next week and some pretty cool jerseys to go with it, huh?
Look at that right there. The Strike Fighter Squadron, the 103, the Jolly Roger uniform of the Navy football team, the most lethal group in the Navy. Their call sign, victory! All right, and you know what? They say, fear the bones. And then here we go, the 101st Airborne, the Screaming Eagles. These are to honor the men who fought at the Battle of the Bulge there, right, in Bastion, Belgium, excuse me. The combat group was fighting in freezing temperatures. The Nazis said return. They said, no, nuts, we will never surrender.
All right, we got an update for you in the ACC Championship. Cade Klubnik, Bryant Westco Jr. ×2. His second touchdown grab of the night. Clemson up 21-7. There is also a review currently on the field. The call has been reversed. It is an interception from SMU and Kevin Jennings, so another turnover for SMU. Things are not going the way of the Mustangs in Charlotte tonight, guys.
Great throw by Cade Klubnik there, identifying the coverage quickly and making a quick decision with a powerful throw.
All right, let's take it all the way back to August when we did the college football show draft.
Oh, God.
Here were the rules. 1 point for every team win. We all drafted teams, took a snake draft to do it. 3 points for a win over a ranked opponent, 5 points for winning the conference title, 7 for a playoff berth. Let's see the result.
And this is where our show loses all validity that we once had.
All right, Maddie, here we got you at 76 points.
God.
Team that hurt you was the Fighting Oklahoma State
Now, these are the teams
Cowboys.
that we do.
All right,
we
Ole
drafted,
Miss, Ole Miss broke my heart. Oklahoma State, well, you just saw what they did to their head coach. They said, take less money or else. And then Liberty Bibbity really disappointed me a lot. So both of those teams at the bottom there didn't help me at all.
All right, so yeah, we still got a couple of question marks there. Although, yeah, the Texas you can take out. Penn State still up in the air, but doesn't look great. So
Utah, Florida State.
Probably stuck at 72 there. Yeah, the Utah, Florida State, not great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Everyone thought Florida State was going to win the ACC.
Louisville wasn't that far off.
Oh, but look at what Scoob did.
Look at this guy.
Time for your victory lap.
Well, guys, this draft just fell right into my lap.
Yeah,
Georgia, easy pickings. Oregon, of course. As soon as I got them, second overall.
Imagine if Miami took care of business.
Yeah, right? I mean, great draft by me. I didn't do great in the picks, though, every single week, so you guys have that over me. But overall, for the season,
and that Nebraska
well done
pick.
me, right?
Very bad.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. All right, we got like 3 minutes left to go in the show, so why don't we decide how to fix the college football playoff in 3 minutes?
Oh, I really like that you put all this pressure on
Challenge?
me. Okay.
Maddie's got his whiteboard out. Maddie, what would be a change you would make to the 12-team field?
All right, so everyone who's a Boise State fan, just earmuffs, okay, for these next few minutes, okay? So we're going to take out the group of 5. We're going to just do the Big 4 conferences, the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC. We're going to take the top 4 teams, right, from every conference. So top 4 no matter what.
All right, so you're just taking the top 4 teams.
The top 4 are going no matter what.
That finished in the regular season, top 4. There you
That's
go.
right. So, and I'm not even going to do the championship games. I'm kind of leaving those out for right now.
Okay.
Right? I'm just going to say they're the top 4 teams.
Okay.
And then from there, we're going to seed them appropriately, right, with that committee. Okay. So we're going to have one SEC number 1, and then 2, 3, 4, all the way down, right? Same for the ACC. And then we're going to split them up into brackets, essentially, right? First round is all home field. So the number 1 SEC is going against the number 2 ACC, the number 3 Big 10, the number 4 Big 12.
Okay, so a couple of things. You're expanding the field. It's not 12. You're at 16.
Correct.
Right?
Thank you.
What do we do with the buys? What are you doing with that?
No buys.
No buys.
No buys.
Okay.
No. I'm not going to wait around for a whole month to watch you play. No. As soon as the season's over, we're getting right into it.
Yeah, I mean,
okay?
if you expand it, not having the buys doesn't expand the season as much. We're already playing late into January this year, and that was one of the notes I had the dinner chat for us.
Right.
Last year, as we were preparing for this year's expanded playoffs on, hey, this season is going to be longer. So if we make it 16, I see what you mean about no bias for everybody else.
Let's get right into it. I'm not really a huge fan of the buys and all that kind of stuff anyway. I really like the fact of just like football, like the whole part of it is just like the war of attrition and being able to fight through adversity. And that's why I say for this one, no buys, even if you have a great season, and even if you are the best team, whatever, doesn't matter. Now, with my bracket here that I drew, just so my brain can handle it, because I had to do it in the last second, you would be playing the 1 versus the 4, right, in this situation, right? The 2 and the 3.
Right.
The same concept across the board.
And
for
then you
everyone.
play in from there.
And you play in from there, right? But I think it would be cool, though, if you had essentially the 1 seed,
Kind of
right?
like the NBA playoffs a little bit, right?
Exactly, or like March Madness, right? Where it's just like you're going to have 4 number 1 seeds from each conference.
No buys.
They're all going to be essentially the 1 seed of that section. And then this first round, just like how we already have in the playoffs, everyone has a home game, right? So the top seed has a home game, and then it filters out from there.
You also kind of eliminate the whole group of 5 discussion here.
I did, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I really don't have any other good reason.
Not a fan of the group of 5, but you've been very adamant about that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess I'm playing into more so it's the big 4, right? Keeping it simple with them, right? The group of 5 and all that. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really come up with a better plan to help them out and be involved.
Would you have any adjustment towards the college football playoff?
I think the adjustment that I would have for a 12-team field, and it's been talked about a lot, is the conference championship equals a bye. Like, I don't think that is how it should be done. I think you should have the 4. This is what I would do. You have the top 4 teams in the entire country get a bye regardless of your conference. I think that's an easy fix.
I think this is the default, easy, low-hanging fruit decision. And I would just go, hey, we're going to rank everybody 1 through 12, or 1 through 16.
Right.
And if you win your conference championship, you get an automatic bid. And if you are ranked outside the top 12 and you win your conference championship, then we just start placing you towards the back end of that college football playoff. So let's say you're Arizona State today and you won your conference championship. You're 15th, so we're going to put you at 12.
Right.
Unless the committee ends up ranking you a little bit higher come selection day. But I'm right there with you, Sam. This conference championship confusion where it's, all right, if you win your conference championship, you get a bye, and then you can steal a bid.
Yeah.
Let's just stop all of that, because right now we're looking at the 5 spot as an advantage. We're looking at the 8 and 9 as a disadvantage, a tougher road. And if you're the 1 seed, you're also going to be going against tougher teams because of how it's all set up.
That is the first thing that has to change, how they set up like the 5 and 12 situation, right? That is crazy for me.
Yeah.
We'll have a whole offseason to work out all of the kinks to the college football playoff. Can you believe this is, by the way, the last show?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
It is sad.
I mean, first of all, I just want to shout out everybody that's helping work on this show.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I mean, BD,
Takes a village.
Alex is back there, our director, Metzger, DJ, help me out,
Hannah,
Courtney, Chelsea,
Joey
Zach
G.
was on, Joey G, just a lot of great people that put this show together every single week. Terrence, keep getting them out as I just talk.
Yeah.
We just want to say thank you to everybody that's watched. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, continue to watch us. We will be back for the conference championships. And these guys are on tomorrow.
Yeah, we will be on tomorrow. The bracket, we will break it down on Rankings Reaction. We'll be on around 1 p.m. here on the ESPN College Football YouTube page. And for us, for all 3 of us, Skubie, Matt, I am Sam. Thank you so much for watching the College Football Show presented by AT&T.
When the V Foundation was established by Jim Valvano, he had a vision, he had a goal, and every dollar counts. It's changing the course of cancer. It's changing the course of lives.